Good morning, YouTube. I am Bearded Ink, and today I have a question for you. Have you ever been in your stream and seen somebody in your chat say that your microphone volume is too low, or that your game is too loud, or they can't hear the music, or they can't hear the people that you're in your Discord call with? How easy would it be to have your moderators be able to control your OBS volumes for all of your different audio inputs? So today I'm going to show you how you or your moderators can control all of your OBS input volumes with a simple command right through your chat. So what do you say we get right into it, huh? All right, we're going to start in StreamerBot. I'm going to show you how to make the command. We're going to use what is called the OBS Raw. I will explain that as we go along, and then I will show you how everything works in OBS so that you can understand it. And then we're going to go over some best practices so that you get an idea of what you and your moderators need to do and how the best to use this command and how best you can set up your OBS for this command to function properly. Now, because this is a mod controlled action, I'm going to come in here. Let me just zoom in for you guys here. We're going to come in to my moderator actions, and I'm just going to add a new one here. And we're just going to call this one volume control. Okay. Doesn't matter really what you name it, as long as you know what it is. And then we're going to make two sub actions. Now we're going to use the input from the chat command. So we're going to have a command, and then that value that the command enters is what we're going to pull from. So we need to grab that information. So we're going to right click in here. We're going to come down to Twitch. We're going to go to user, all the way to user, and then get user info for target. And then in the little pop-up here, we're going to come down and get from input. Okay, so when we click OK, it should say Twitch add target info from input. And this is basically telling it, hey, fill in all of these variables. Right now, when we pull in these variables, we're going to have variable strings, and there's going to be variances. We're going to have the entire raw input, which is the entire command that they put in. And then each word of that input or each word of that chat message is going to split into its own input variable. And we're going to take use of those individual input variables to make this command work. So now we're going to use an OBS raw command. And I don't want you to get too excited. It's not too difficult if you follow along. We're going to right click. We're going to go OBS here, and then we're going to come down to raw, and then you're going to get this thing that looks like this. And let me just zoom out real quick for you so that you can kind of see what we're dealing with here. It is a little intimidating. It is this big blank space. It's for you basically to use some type of WebSocket type OBS coding so that StreamerBot can talk to OBS and have OBS perform functions internally. Okay, but don't get too scared here. It's not that bad. First thing we want to do is we want to give it a name. And here we're just going to name it volume control, or you can name it mic control, or whatever you want to name it. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure that the raw button is the one that is checked. And we're going to format this. Okay, so everything is included. It is a type of coding language. So follow along here. We're going to start on line 1 with a curly bracket. We're going to open our curly bracket. Okay, and then we're just going to hit enter to come down to a new line. Get you all centered here. There we go. And I'll stop following the mouse. Okay, so now we're on line 2, and we're going to tell this what we're doing. We're basically making a request type, and then we're going to tell it what type of request we're going to make. So the first thing we have to do is we're going to open everything with a quotation mark, and then we're going to type in the words request type, all one word, with type being capital. So request type, and then we're going to close our quotation marks. Okay. And then we're going to put in a little colon because we have to define what request type is. So we're going to space over, and we're going to set another string. So we're going to use the quotation marks. And this one is set input volume. And all 3 of these words are put together. So it's one word, and they're all capitalized. So capital S, set, capital I, input, capital V, volume, We're going to close our string with the quotation marks, and then we're going to put a comma. And the comma basically is going to tell it, hey, we're not done yet. More information is coming. So now we're going to go to line 3. So now that we have our request type done, we need to tell it what data it needs to request from us, and then we're going to give it that data. So we need to do another request, but this time instead of a request type, it's going to be request data. So open our string here, and we're going to type in request data with a capital D, close our string quote marks, give it a colon to let it know we're about to define this. But because we're defining this with 2 different variables, we're going to just do a curly bracket, open the curly bracket to let it know, hey, include everything that follows in this section. So we're going to go to a new line. Now, line 4, we have to tell it first thing what input device we want to control. And this is going to be done by the input name. So we're going to open our string with the quote mark, and we're going to do input, all lowercase, and then name with a capital N. So request name there. Okay. And then we're going to define this. So we need to give it a colon and then a space. And then we're going to open the string here. Now here, we're going to use our variables. And remember, I told you when we get the variable name here from the add target info, the input, whatever follows the command. So if our command is !volume, whatever follows that is the input that we're getting. And if we do raw input, it will take everything that follows as one input thing. But StreamerBot also breaks up each individual word into its own variable as well. And these are basically the raw input and then a number. So we're going to take advantage of that. And we want to give the input name as the first word following the command. So we're going to come in here and we're going to say the input name is variable. So we're going to do percentages. And then we're going to say input, all lowercase, and then the number 0. And then we're going to close, then we're going to close with another percentage sign. And then we're going to close out our string and give it a comma to let it know, yes, there is still more coming. So basically what the input 0 here is saying is that whatever is input in this chat message, the very first word after the command is what's going to be populated here. And in this case, it's the input name or the name of your audio device that we're taking control of in OBS. Okay, so now we're going to go to line 5 and we're almost done here. And we're going to do the same thing, but now we're telling it what we're going to control this volume by. And in this case, it's going to be by the volume decibel rating. Okay, and so we're going to open our string, input, all lowercase, volume with a capital V. Make sure you spell it right. And then decibel, we're going to do shorthand decibel, which is a capital D and a lowercase b. Okay. And then we're going to, again, close that string with our quote marks, give it a colon to let it know we're defining it, space it over. We're going to open our new string. And now we need to take the second word of that input from the chat command. So that variable, again, percentage sign, input, in this case, it's going to be number 1, because remember all the inputs and all the variables start with 0. So 0 is actually the first word, 1 is the second word, 2 is the third word, and so on. And then we're going to close out the percentage marker here and then close out our string. And we don't need a comma because we are done with the variables for the requested data. So instead of a comma, we're going to come to a new line and we're going to close that curly bracket. Okay, so now all of this is included. All of this is included as the requested data. And then we're going to come down to a new line, number 7, and we're going to close the curly bracket here to let it know that everything included here is one raw command. Okay. Now we can come down here and click, oh, let me follow the mouse again. Now we can come down here and we can click the format button to make it all pretty with the right indents and everything else. And then you're done. So we're going to click OK right here. All right. And now I'm gonna zoom out here so we can see what's going on. We're gonna go into OBS and I'm gonna explain a few things here. So if we go into OBS, we see like I'm in my audio scene here, and I have my different audio devices. So we got our microphone, OBS, web browser, bots, our games, Discord, music that we might be playing on stream. And each one of these is its own input, right? And then over in our audio mixer, you can see here that we have our bots, Discord, all these different names, and shows our volume levels and everything else. And we can use the slider here to change how much volume is actually coming through for each one of those devices. And this slider is actually what we're going to control with this command. And as you can see, if I move this slider up and down, the decibel rating here, or the dB level, changes as I go up and down. Now, one thing you want to make sure that you note of, and you want to make sure that your moderators know this as well. So the next section I'm going to explain is how this decibel meter works in OBS. So make sure that your moderators know too. You can either explain it to them or send them to this video and to this specific section so that we can explain it once and everybody is on board. Okay, OBS uses what is called a true peak decibel meter, which means 0 is the very top or the loudest that the volume will go. And then it goes all the way down to -60. Now, the actual numbers that OBS can intake are anything from +26 to -67. Okay. And anything about below a -50, by the way, is not going to be very audible at all on your stream. Okay. And anything over 0, so any actual positive number, is going to be so loud that it will actually peak that input device. Okay. And I'll show you what we do. I'll show you how we can test for that and look for that and explain that in a few minutes. But let's leave it at 0 for right now. Now with our command, we need to make a command. So we're going to come back into the bot real quick. We need to make our trigger. We're going to actually make a command. So we're going to right click on here. We're going to go to core, commands, and then command triggered. Okay. We're going to create a new command, and I'm just going to give this one a name of like volume control. All right. And then the command itself, I'm just going to use !VOL for volume. But I want to ignore the bot and ignore internal messages. And I want to make sure that my source is selected. So either Twitch or YouTube, or if you're on Trovo, whatever it is, make sure that it is the Twitch message or the YouTube message or the Trovo message so that it knows where to look for this command. And then again, I highly recommend that this be a moderator only action. So we're going to move moderators over to the allowed list so that only moderators or you as the broadcaster can use this command. And we're going to click OK, and then we're going to click OK again to add the trigger. Okay, so let's go back into OBS now. And here we are over here. So the command, remember, we have 2 inputs that we need to do. So we're going to do the command, which is VOL, and we're going to space over. Now the next name is what we're taking control of. So if we want to take control of the microphone, if your microphone is too loud, for example, right, it has to be the exact name that you gave it in OBS. And you'll notice here that all of my inputs are one word. So even web browsers is one word. There are no spaces. And that is done on purpose for this command. Because if I did, for example, web browsers, this command is not going to work, because remember, we're taking the first word after the command as the input name, and then the second word or phrase or value in the command is going to be how much we're adjusting that one by. So if I were to send this as my volume control, it would look for a audio input named web, and there isn't one. And so the command would break and nothing would happen, right? Likewise, if we remove this space, it's going to look for web browsers, but it's going to look for the one that's all lowercase, because as you know, everything in OBS has to be unique. All the names are unique. You can't have a same name in a source that is the same name as a scene and things like that. So here I have web browsers, and all of mine are capitalized, and then web and browsers are each capitalized. So for this to be an exact match, I have to do web with a capital W and a capital B. Likewise for the microphone, it's a capital M and then a lowercase I and C. And now that they match, it's going to know this is what I'm looking for. Okay. The next thing we're going to give it is what to adjust the decibel range to. Now, if we look at this again, you'll notice that the decibel range is set again, like it is, I said before, it is a peak or a true peak format, which means 0 is the loudest. And then negative, it says infinity, but it's actually down negative 67 is the lowest you can really go. But what we want to do is we want to note that whatever value we put in here needs to be a negative. So we're going to put a negative symbol there, or a subtraction symbol, or a dash, whatever you want to call it. And then the value is going to be what we set it to. So for example, if we go crazy and do a negative 20, okay, we're going to come here. It's going to go to negative 20, and then it's going to come down here, you know, like that, right? And you can use the decimal point system as well. So if I want to do like a negative 20.5, it would do that. Okay. But what we want to remember is that we're not adding or subtracting to the current volume level. Okay. And let me make this abundantly clear for you and your moderators. For example, if we have currently, let's say our microphone is set to a negative 9 dB. And people are saying, oh, your microphone is too quiet. Okay. If I come in here and I say, if I go positive 10, okay, it's not going to take the 9 and add 10 to it. It's going to set this at a positive 10. So which would be way up here and extremely, extremely loud, right? If I wanted to make it even quieter and I said, let's go negative 15, it's not going to take 9 and add 15 to it and then give us a negative 24. It's going to set it to negative 15. Okay. And that's the key here is you're not adding or subtracting to what the volume slider is currently set at. You're telling it which decibel point for the slider to go to. Okay. So in this instance here, if we go back and we say something drastic like negative 20, watch what happens here. I'm going to come back over here so you can see it. When I enter this command, it's going to immediately go to negative 20, just like that. Okay. And now my volume is way down here. So again, we're not adding or subtracting now. So if they say, oh, that's too low, I can't hear you at all now, and your moderators come back in and they add it, we're not going to add. We're not going to do a positive number. This is a no-no right here. Okay. No, no, no. We're going to go instead to like a negative 10. Okay. And then this is going to bring the microphone volume from negative 20 dBs and set it to negative 10 dBs. Just like that. Okay. Now, if I wanted, again, oh, it's too low. Now, if I were to say again and say, let's go 3 more decibels. No, I don't want to make this do the math, right? Because this is not going to set it to negative 7 by doing a negative 3. It's going to set it to negative 3, right? So now we're way up here. If we wanted it at negative 7, we have to put it in as negative 7. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope so. If you follow, if not, leave a comment below. We'll get you squared away. But that's the most important thing. So make sure that you name all of your sources. And if you have to go through and rename all of your audio sources, that's fine. But make sure they are one name. They don't have to be capitalized or anything like that. But you do need to make sure that your moderators know what you have named all of your audio sources. Now, for my moderators, for example, I have my Discord with my moderator channel, and they have a list of all of my audio inputs so that they know exactly what they're called, how they're spelled, which words are capitalized or which letters are capitalized and things like that. You can do that as well. Make a Google Doc, or if you have like a group chat with your moderators, something like that, just so they know which ones to control. But mostly they're going to be controlling your microphone and your game audio, maybe the Discord calls as well. But most of the other things aren't going to be that big of a deal, but it's good for them to know what we're going to control. Okay. So we can do this with any input now. So if we want to say our game is too loud, we just type in volume. We're going to do games with a capital G because that's what I've called it. My game is too loud. Well, let's set that to a -20. We're going to hit enter, and then games goes to a -20. And now the volume is better. In this way, your moderators can take control of your sounds in OBS for you, so you don't have to quit playing the game or tab out or tell people to wait until you get to a stopping point or whatever. This also works, for example, if you're like on a be right back screen. So if you're actually not physically at your PC and you're playing like clips or something, and your clips are really, really loud and people in your chat are complaining, oh my God, that's so loud. Your moderators, while you're away from the computer, can type in !volume, clips, -10, -15, or whatever they need to set it to set the volume so it's better for everybody that's currently watching your stream. I hope that helps, and let's go back and end this out. So there you go. Moderator controls, volume controls with a simple command in StreamerBot. And now not only you, but your moderators have control over the volume of things specifically on your stream with a simple setup. Just make sure that, again, your moderators know what your audio inputs are named and how they're spelled and capitalized, and then how the volume mixer decibel rating works so that they get the right numbers in there. Okay. But if you have any questions at all, leave a comment down below. If the video helped you out, give me a thumbs up because it makes me feel good, and I like to feel good. Also, if you're new to the channel, hi, I hope you learned something. And if you want to know when I have more tutorials posted, just make sure you click that subscribe button down below, turn on notifications, and every time that I go live or I post a new video here on YouTube, you will be notified and you can be one of the first to get the new information. But that's everything, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope this wasn't too long or overly detailed for you. But if you have any problems with it, just let me know. And we'll see you next time. And until then, love, peace, and chicken grease.